Alright, so when we continue Hilchas Niddah, we're holding Siman Kuf Pei Dalet at the very beginning. Let's go over a few important nekudot, a few important points. We mentioned the main idea behind dam that's coming from the makor, dam that's coming from the source. It was from the uterus. It's dam tomeh, and that could come about in all kinds of ways. It can come about through excitement. That's a very important nekuda, because here we're talking about Hilchas Niddah, which relates to a certain period of the month, at a certain time, that a woman usually expects to have. And when you expect something, you know for sure what it is, especially when it comes around the same time, especially especially if the duration is pretty much the same. It pretty much feels the same too. Feels the same is not necessarily when the dam is coming out, but feeling on how the physical body feels right before that. So a woman is able to know, as we will be seeing later on, there are various ways women know that they're getting that period. Nonetheless, there are times a woman can become tameya, even if it's not her period, even if it's not blood, it be a stain. Of course, there's a question of what's d'oraita and what's the rabbanan. Okay, so we discussed the various opinions as to what a woman has to feel. Does she have to feel the blood flowing through her or not? What happens if she felt something but there is no blood, which we really haven't discussed, but we'll talk about it later. Because sometimes a woman's body, is penetrated through some instrument by the doctor, or as before she dilates, and she becomes unclean, even if we don't see blood yet. So these are important halachas because they all relate either to Niddah or to Yore Deah, or giving birth, which is pretty much the same thing. It will be tameya for a number of days. So ketem, a stain, has different rules. It's a little bit more lenient because that we all agree is a derabbanan. As it is, we have chumrah over chumrah on the harchakas as far as the number of days that a man and woman are not together, being in the average 11, 12 days. Whereas Mina Torah, we said that a Niddah is only unclean for 7 days. So if you were to see blood for 6 days, you could still go to the mikveh after the 7 days are over. What's interesting about this tumah, perhaps I don't recall if I mentioned it, is that this tumah in some ways is similar to tumas mace, is that you can't get rid of it just by going to the mikveh. There is a certain amount of time that is required here to take it away. So she may have seen blood only 1 day. Well, sorry lady, you have to wait for 7 days. 7 days have to go by. It's not just a matter of, well, I'm clean. Yes, but you have to wait that amount of time regardless. But today we don't go by that exact halacha. Today we're more machmir anyway. A woman waits 5 days usually, or until the blood ceases, it would be either 4 or 5. And then she can begin her shiv'ah neki, her 7 clean. But she cannot go to the mikveh until about 11 or 12 days have transpired from the time of the onset of her period. So we're not going to review or repeat everything that we've covered already about that. That is pretty much the halacha today. But the reasons behind it, we already covered. That has to do with chumras in the various times, the various generations of the Tanoim and Amoraim, where Am Yisrael, B'nai Yisrael, the daughters of the women accepted upon themselves certain chumras, and that has become the halacha. They're very, very careful. And even if they see stain, as long as the stain has the coloration, as long as it's in the right place, as long as it's a certain size, and we cannot attribute it to anything else, but we assume that it's most likely came inside her body, then she will be tameya just like if she saw blood. So whether it was be'oines or be'rotzon, whether it was a regular period or whether it was some sort of excitement, pressure from the airplane flight, dam chimud, all kinds, that she's excited, looking forward towards something, all of that can bring about blood. So you may be surprised that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she just had it. What is this? First of all, it could be an injury. You have to find out. Because if it is an injury, it may not necessarily make her tameya. The chaval to wait all that time, again, if she's not tameya. So don't ever make the decision on your own without consulting, without seeing a doctor perhaps, as to determine where did this come from. The most difficult part of Hilchas Niddah, perhaps, is vesatot, figuring out or how to calculate the exact period, and perhaps knowing how to deal with stains, if that ever happens, Because the mikveh is relatively simple. She has to just be aware of such a thing, and she'll have help at the mikveh with the mikveh lady in telling her, well, take the nail polish off, do this, do that, the curls in the hair, no chatzis. There's a lot of things that she doesn't have to worry. I mean, she does have to prepare herself, but when it comes to taharat mishpacha, there are two areas that are very important. Figuring out or knowing when that time is, and what is permissible and what's not between the husband and the wife. So of course the husband has to be somewhat familiar as well with that area, as what is permissible. But she has the responsibility of keeping track of her time. And that time could be fixed or could not be fixed. Fixed meaning that she can pretty much estimate within 24 hours when it's going to be again, as we call it today, regular period, or it could be irregular. And irregular could be very irregular or be a little bit irregular. And that is what we'll be seeing in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so let's begin. Before we read the Mechaber and the Ramo inside Kuf Pei Dalet, Kuf Pei Dalet, the title is Shetzarich Lifrosh Mihaisha Ona Kodem Levista. Without learning the Gemaras, it could be a little bit vague. What does this mean? But I'll translate it, then I'll give you a little bit of background. The halacha is that man has to separate himself from his wife one ona, one period of time, before her veset comes about. Okay, it doesn't tell us what ona is. It doesn't tell us how many hours that is. It tells us ona, a time period. Before her veset. When is that veset? So that's the title, of course, the heading of this Siman. But there is a very important inyan for a husband not to risk it, not to take a chance. Obviously, you don't want to chas v'shalom be involved in a case where a woman is a Niddah. And therefore, we don't take chances. So to not fall into this isser, there is an inyan of lifrosh. Separate yourself. You're expecting something to happen, then don't wait till the last second. With Shabbos, similarly, we're not mekabel Shabbos on the dot. We are mekabel Shabbos for more than one reason. Early, a few minutes early, a woman lights candles a little bit early to add kedusha to the chol, right? To bring in Shabbos a little bit early, and we can't estimate so accurately the beginning of Shabbos as it is ben hashmashot, which is the twilight time between sunset and tzet kochavim, is a suffix deraisa. If a woman forgot to light candles on time and it's already after Shkia, she can't do it anymore. She has to ask a Goya. She's allowed to ask a Goya during Ben Hashmashot, that is only. And she makes the blessing while the Goya lights the candles. It's Ben Hashmashot. You don't want to take a chance. Maybe it's the rice, it's Shabbos. So there's certain things we don't do at that point. There's things you can. But it's a suffix. So you don't want to be Mekabel Shabbos. Remember, in those days they didn't have watches. If you can't look at the sun, it's a cloudy day, what are you going to do? So you always are, don't put yourself in a situation where you're taking a chance. You may end up doing something. So you bring in the Shabbos a little bit early. This way you have no problem. Same thing with Motzei Shabbos. Not on the exact minute. Who says that clock is right? Who says your time is right? Don't take a chance. You wait a little bit more and then you don't have a suffix. Now, we know all about suffix from Taaruvot and Basar b'chalav. Suffix is not something to take lightly. It's a suffix deraisa, it's lechumra. If it's a suffix derabana, you be mekel. And that's going to help us understand that some of the halachas here too. We need to know if something is a deraisa or if something is a rabbanon. Very, very important. That can make a big difference when there's some doubts or uncertainty. Whether it's a suffix in the halacha itself, what do we hold like? Right? Sometimes we have opinion that holds like that. Or if it's a suffix in the metziut, in the actuality, in other words, what exactly happened over here? Was that blood or not? She doesn't remember. She felt something. Yeah, but maybe she felt something because she went to the bathroom. And what she was really feeling is her bowel movement, which she's attributing to that. Which one is it? Right? So there's fakis. There's some doubts. What if she checked herself, and that's when she saw the blood? Oh, checked herself. Well, it couldn't come from a cockroach. If she's actually sticking a pad, a cotton, what is it called, cotton swab, right? Is sticking that inside in that location, then whatever blood that she sees on it is coming from there, unless she forgot to check it. Maybe it was dirty from last time, right? So she has to know this is clean. I know it was clean. I know it's from there because I stuck it there, then of course the rabbi is not going to be able to be so lenient. This is not an ordinary stain. This is blood that you got from there. This is not a suffix anymore. Of course there are other sfeikas involved. Is this her period or not? Why did she check herself? Obviously most women are checking themselves only close to the vest or after. And there's a whole big sugya here in halacha on if a woman is allowed to be extra frum in checking herself more than the necessary. The majority of opinions say no. The husband might be afraid. Oh no, what is she's checking again? What if... So sometimes you have to be careful, as we will see. In this area, a woman has to be careful not to overdo it. Only because emotionally or psychologically, there may be a little bit of trepidation here of what's going to happen. Did you see anything? Well, yeah. Well, what color is it? Or let's forget it. Oh, I can't touch you, right? So there has to be some common sense as to when a woman checks herself. When is it really necessary for her to check? Before intimacy, after intimacy? Should she check at all? Maybe she doesn't need to. Why should she check if she's not expecting anything? See what I mean? Why should she? Unless, of course, this woman has major issues, which we'll get to eventually. So always check herself right before. Anyway, no one should ever have this problem, that a woman bleeds a lot, stains a lot, because it can complicate the marital relationship very, very, very much. But that's where this siman begins with. It begins to tell us a little bit about the differences that exist amongst women, and it all begins with veset. Most women have a veset. Veset means a time, a day, or days, that they will get their period, well, they will see blood. This time, for most mature, most women of age, let's say, as we said last week, is 12 to 51, is pretty much established, can be established, I should say, within 3 times. In other words, a veset can be, she will be seeing, unless of course she becomes pregnant, of course, and so forth, then it stops. But during this age, a woman can establish a veset in 3 times. It's every 28 days. She's seen it every 28 days, 3 times in a row. Has a kav'a veset. That's her veset, and that's a pretty good regular veset. And as we will see, that is very, very helpful. If a woman is regular, great. Husband is leaving town, and there's a mitzvah. If a man leaves town, he's going to be, especially if he's going to be away for more than a couple of days, it's a mitzvah for him to be intimate with his wife before he leaves. The woman's nature is that she may not verbalize it, but she wants her husband. She's going to miss him, she won't have him. That's a healthy woman, by the way. There are some women who don't, they're always having headaches or issues, they don't like their husband. We're not talking about those kinds of situations. I'm talking about a normal situation, a woman. That's what the Chachamim tell us. So it's mitzvah lifkodota. It's a mitzvah to be with her. Well, be concerned. Maybe she's getting her period. No, he doesn't have to be concerned. Why should he be concerned? It's 10 days from now. So he therefore doesn't even have to ask her, are you okay, are you clean? He can assume she is. Why not? A veset, therefore, helps a lot in giving us a certain amount of peace of mind that we should have to check, I don't have to ask her, right? And that's fine. So most women can establish a veset in 3 times. In other words, if after 3 times they see a certain trend, that time frame or that regularity establishes a veset kavua. Until when? Until it's uprooted. What can uproot it? If she starts seeing every 25 days or 26 days, and no longer 28 days, 3 times in a row. So in the same way that 3 times in a row establishes a fixed veset, whatever amount of days it is, in the same way, to undo it, she would have to undo it 3 times. Why is this important? We will see. Because if a woman knows her veset, then she has to watch out. The question right now is, of course, how much to watch out, how much before, how much after. Okay, that's a separate question that we will deal with. But the fact is that day is off limits. If that's, we know with a certain degree of certainty that every 28 days she's going to get her veset, then there's going to be some sort of harchaka, at least on that day. But if she has uprooted that veset 3 times, she no longer has it every 28 days. 3 times in a row she uprooted it. It was every 25, it was at 26, it was not 28, then it's the 28 old veset is no longer a veset. Okay, what is this? What is the basic veset, or the basic time frame for a woman to see basic period? In Halacha, it's called Ona Benonit. Ona Benonit is 30 days. So let's say a woman doesn't have a veset, she doesn't know of a veset. She has to be aware of Ona Benonit. Ona Benonit, a woman can have her period once every 30 days. So far there are no other numbers, there are no other amounts of days. This is one day that she has to be aware of. It's very possible that, lacking any other proof of how often she sees it, this could be one day that she may need to be aware of. That's called Ona Benonit. Even though we'll be learning more about it later on, I'm just giving you a little bit of an overview. Besides Ona Benonit, there's called Veset Shel Haflaga. Veset Shel Haflaga, or Aflaga, as Ashkenazim would say it, is a Veset that is based not on Ona Benonit, on the 30th day, 1 month, but every 22 days. She happens to have every 22 days. So it's a Haflaga. She has noticed that it's not a certain day of the month that she gets it. It's not once a month either, but it's somehow on the clock every 22 days.
What is that? Does that have to be done 2 days?
No, 24, 29,
any kind of
a flaga.
Yeah, a pattern.
Right.
And
it's a time in between.
The clock.
In other words, calendar.
So
Regardless of whether it's January or February, regardless of whether it's winter or summer, shorter days, longer months, has nothing to do with that. It has to do with 22 days later, she gets it again. No.
So
It has to be the same, because it's the same day.
Yeah, but within...
We'll talk about that. In other words, that can vary a little bit. How much can it vary? Yeah, that depends on the woman. In other words, there's minor adjustments. A woman can...
What still qualifies as a minor, indeed, such a pattern?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. In other words, she has to see if this is the pattern always, it's always during the day, or she has seen it that it's always been 22 days, but within 12 hours of each other.
Hours would still be okay.
Yes, approximately, yeah.
Repeated on the same day.
Right.
How much days? 3 days?
No leeway.
It has
No.
the exact same month.
I haven't explained that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Right. I gave Ona Benonit, which is 30 days.
30 days, will they get also 30 days in the...
No, it was a month. A month.
A month or 30 months could be also
30
29
days. 30 days. Right.
We're talking about...
That's called Ona Benonit.
So
But
it's 30 days or some other number of days.
or some other number, exactly. But Ona Benonit is what the Chachamim said is like a standard.
Fine, but what then 2, 23, 28?
Because in case a woman does not have anything else to rely on, she doesn't know, she has to be concerned about Ona Benonit. In other words, Ona Benonit belongs to all women, unless she has her own haflaga.
So careful.
Right.
If she has no repeat of any kind,
Right.
she'll still have to be careful for 30 days,
Yes.
even though she doesn't have that.
Right.
So with respect, we don't have such a...
Right. Ona Benonit is what the Chachamim said can very possibly be a day that a woman may have it, and therefore, unless she has something else of her own, she has to be concerned about Ona Benonit. What's the other?
That's the only difference.
The only difference. Yeah. Otherwise, it's still an amount of days.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's
Exactly.
why I'm
Yeah.
asking.
The other one is Ona that's based on the day of the month. Somehow, you'd be surprised it exists. Somehow, this woman sees every 5th of the month.
Fifth. Not every second, but every
No,
fifth.
every 5th, every 7th day of the month.
Suppose about
3 times, yeah, 3 times she got it exactly. Something to do with the number of the month, the day of the month. It's possible.
When you say your clock.
As we say in Yiddish, gay vase. I have no explanation for it, how it happens, but that's her clock functions like that.
So it's interesting because the
Yeah.
date of the month, the date and the next
Will be different.
could change.
Exactly. So this is something unusual, but something that
Maybe it has
the
to do with
Chachamim were aware of it.
Maybe it has
Very possible. Yeah, yeah.
to do with...
Yeah, I've never investigated, never did reach on that, but
Yeah, I'm saying there's floods and
yeah, the tides, yeah,
floods,
yeah,
there's
sure,
floods, this
yeah,
has to do with
yeah.
moons, maybe.
Then comes my favorite one. I say call it my favorite one because it's pretty strong. It's a pretty strong indicator that there's no doubts about, and that is Veset Hamichoshim, as I guess I would call it, or maybe others. A Veset that is established based on a woman's physical sensations she has. Every time she gets, right before she gets her Veset, fever, out of nowhere. Or all of a sudden, tremendous back pain, cramps. Oh, they all have cramps. All of a sudden, she starts complaining about something. She's probably 29 out of 30 days about something else, of course. She's entitled to them. They work hard. They need. But this particular complaining has to do with something in her body that really bothers her. Really bothers her. It's not just exaggerated. No, it's not. Not everybody complains. If she really feels something that bothers her, she knows it. It's a feeling. It's coming, sweating, pain, her mood. But the key here is there's a pattern, like you said before. Pattern is the key. There's a pattern. Well, I know it's coming. It's the same kind of feeling she's had all along, and she has this 3 times. So she's established a veset, not based on days of a flaga, based on sensations, feelings that she, Now this could be very, very helpful. The husband is not in the business of checking the calendars, the charts. He has an idea maybe, but if she tells him a symptom that he knows from the past, this is a symptom of that, and it's that time of the month anyway, approximately, then he has to be very, very careful. It all depends, of course. We will see how much time he has, because obviously, as soon as it gets very, very close, it could be an Issa D'Oraisa to get close to the woman. So we need to know, of course, how much that time is, and we'll talk about it, whether it's a D'Oraisa or D'Rabbanan. But this is another form of Veset called Veset HaMichushim. Then there is some women who have both. I don't know, some, maybe a lot, who actually nowadays have a Veset of Michush and of days. Every 25 days she gets it, and you know what? Right before she gets it, she always has pain, there's cramps. So it could be also a combination of the two. Why is that so important? Why do I care if she has both? Because if all of a sudden she no longer has the one or the other, and she always had the two, guess what? The husband doesn't have to be concerned. She always has the two of them. So now she only has one, and it's day 22, and she's getting it usually on day 24. It could be something else. It could be she had a hard day, difficult. That's why she has this pain. See what I mean? So once she establishes that her Veset is a combination of the two, then it always has to be those two for him to watch out for on that day. If one of them therefore is missing, then it could be it's not the time yet. That's why all of these are important. So what are some of the nafkaminot? Whether a woman has a regular period, which is every so often, or an irregular period. As we said, if it's kavua, it could be easier for a husband to know when he can approach her. If it during the time that it's not her Veset. And he doesn't even have to ask her, are you clean or not, before he's intimate with her. The halacha is when a woman comes home from the mikveh, she has to tell her husband somehow that she went. Somehow he knows, she tells him, somehow it has to be made 100%. Maybe something happened, she didn't go. You can't assume. What if she fell asleep? Well, if she fell asleep completely, it says that the husband should not be with a wife that is completely asleep. It's not right. But she's drowsing, and she didn't say anything. You can't assume. Maybe she just didn't make it that day. Maybe it was closed. So there has to be a clear indicator somehow, a clear understanding. She went, she's clean. So if she has a Veset Kavua, he doesn't have to ask her during the time of the month when it's not her Veset. Are you okay today? No, you don't have to ask. Everything is okay. And, obviously you want to coordinate these. But even if it's not fully coordinated, as long as she's not completely asleep, you don't have to ask her. It's important also for the woman. She doesn't have to check herself if it's not that time of the. She has a regular Veset. Anyway, many of the differences between Veset Kavua and Veset Shelo Kavua, we will see later on in the other Simanim. Let's just go a little bit into the Gemara. We don't have the time to go through the whole sugya there, but it's an important machloket there between Rav and Shmuel concerning a woman who did not check herself. She has a Veset at some time, and she didn't check herself during the time of the Veset. Later on, a day or two later, she checked herself, and she's clean. What now?
So she had her cycle?
Yeah. Right. So what's her din? What's her status? That's how the Gemara starts off. Rav says, well, 2 days later when she did check herself, if she found herself to be unclean, she's unclean. if she found herself to be clean, she's clean. Oh, very. Shmuel says no. Even if she found herself to be clean, she's still unclean. Why? Because oreach, the guest, the oreach, comes on time. He's a yeke. The oreach comes on time. The guest comes on time. That's her veset. It's her fault. She didn't check. It could be that the little bit of she had was lost, somehow lost. But she's unclean. Oreach, as he says, bizmano ba. Oreach, the guest comes on the time. She has a veset. We have a famous klal in Gemara. Whenever there's a machloket or Rav and Shmuel, in areas of isurim, we rule like Rav. Okay, there's sometimes a machloket on isurim, there's sometimes a machloket in mamonot, of finances. When it comes to isurim, we rule like Rav. That's the klal. So in this case, we rule like Rav, and we have to understand why. That's where we get all the Rishonim and Achronim. This is one of those areas of where you see quite a few opinions and trying to understand how does Rav allow something. If she has a veset, so what if she's clean? There's a good chance that she was unclean. Just right now, she's clean. Based on what does he say that she's clean?
How does she know that?
Because she always does. She always has it. What's a veset? It's a veset kavua, right? In this case, right? Now, the Gemara's maskana from this whole sugya is that apparently their machloket has to do with another machloket on whether veset is the Rabbanan or the Oraisa. If the whole idea of veset is that of the Rabbanan or the Oraisa, what does that mean? The checking, the fact that a woman has to check during the time of veset is that of the Rabbanan or the Oraisa. Right now, so far, we're not talking about the Halacha, which is a separate idea for a man to be separate from his wife during the time of veset. Whether that's the Oraisa, we're going to get to soon. Right now, the Gemara says their machlokas has to do directly with another machlokas, whether the whole idea of veset, of checking herself, is a deraisa or the Rabbanan. In other words, this could be a big nafkamina, because if there is a chashash that she saw, chashash means is this a chashash deraisa or not, or is it only a chashash the Rabbanan? Because she didn't see it, but she may have seen it. So it's a chashash. She may have seen it, but wait a minute. But is that a deraisa or the Rabbanan? So the husband wants to go out of town. Should he be with his wife or not? There's a chashash. Should he stay away? Not touch, not hug, not kiss. I mean, what could he do? What can he not do? There's a chashash. And there's other sfekas too. So even though this particular case in the Gemara does not concern the actual separation between husband and wife, we still have a chashash here, especially according to the Man De'omer that it's the Oraisa, if her situation, if her status now is a suffix Oraisa or not. Because it could be that she saw. All right, there's another Gemara that says, that brings out the posuk, v'hizartem, that there is also an inyan of a husband separating from his wife during the time of the veset. Okay, so if we have that too, I think a good number of Rishonim say these two are related. If you hold checking herself close to the veset is the Oraisa, you're going to say that the mitzvah of the hizartem is also the Oraisa. The husband has to separate from his wife a couple hours before, a day before, that's also the Oraisa. So some are going to say that that's related, the two are related. If you hold this is the Oraisa, this is the Oraisa, and you're going to be surprised. Some are going to say, no, veset could be the Rabbanan. For a woman to have to check herself is only the Rabbanan, but for the husband not to be with his wife right around that time, that's a Doraisa. That's what's interesting here. Anyway, I wrote down here just a couple of him. The Tosfos, Rambam, Rashba, Raavad, they hold that Veset is the Rabbanan. In the Shach also here. So far what we have is that the vast majority opinion is that Veset is Rabbanan. Okay, so far so good. The Veset, what about the Veset? That for a woman to check herself. So what's the big kasha here? The big kasha is, how could Veset be the Rabbanan? If we hold that, like Shmuel said, Shmuel said that the Oreach Bizmano Ba, that guest always comes on time. Then what you have here is something that happens all the time is called a chazaka. You may recall the term chazaka. We've mentioned it several times. Chazaka is very, very strong. Something that chazaka means there's a propensity. Is that the right word in English? Yeah. Chazaka is a doraisa. Something that happens steadily, something that has a propensity is a doraisa. So if we say the orech bizmano ba, she has a veset, what kind of, how could you doubt if this is a derabana or doraisa? How could you say this is a derabana? So on that there are various explanations. The Yore Deah says, what the Chachamim meant that Veset is the Rabbanan is only after the fact. Was she did not check herself. After the fact, we don't say that she's for sure Tmeya. Why? Why don't we say that after the fact? Because after the fact, even though you have a Chazaka, that the Oreach always comes, she has her own Chazaka. What's that? Unless she sees blood, she's clean. A woman has, as long as she went to the mikvah once upon a time, a woman has her own personal chazaka that she's clean. That's a very, very... Huh? Exactly. Yeah, anything's possible. She has a chazaka. And as we will soon see, that chazaka of oreach ba is not such a strong chazaka. Sometimes it doesn't come in time. So the Yore Deah says that the reason why this is only the Rabbana is because the example of the Gemara. It's after the fact. After the fact, you say, well, she for sure saw. No. Even though that's a chazaka, she always sees, but she's a chazaka that she's clean, as long as she did not see. However, the Bible says the other item of being poirish from his wife, separating the husband should separate from his wife, close to her vessel, yeah, that is the raisa. On that, we don't say chazaka, but she's clean, because she's not going to be clean forever. You see what I mean? But so the Yore Deah says that chazaka she can't use because she's not going to be clean forever. So she has to assume, she has to suspect that she's going to be unclean. So therefore, that could be the oraisa. Yes, that is the oraisa. That he cannot be with his wife till the last second. How could you calculate the last second? She's for sure going to become unclean. So that's very, very serious. Much more than her having to check herself, especially in the case of the Gemara. It's already after the fact. What now? Well, it didn't happen. Because there could be all kinds of reasons why it didn't happen. Chavaz says, very interestingly, he has, I think, two explanations, if I recall. One his own and one that he tries to learn in the Rambam. On his own, he says, the main reason why we're lenient, or we say that the Veset is a Rabbanan, is because Min Torah, remember we say that the only way a woman becomes actually felt the blood come out? Even though today we're machmer, of course, with any blood there, whether she felt it coming or not, is it the Rabbanan, right? We had a whole explanation about what exactly she has to feel. Does she have to feel? But basically that's how we hold. We hold that a woman does not become Tmiyah with the rights unless she actually felt something coming through her body, or something happening to the body, blood flowing through her body, something. So the Chavaz Da'at says, you know what, the main reason why we're lenient with Veset, in general, for women to check themselves, is only because Midaraisa, she's only uncleanly sheltered. So therefore, the whole thing is a Derabanan. In other words, it can be a Derabanan actually felt, but if she felt, then she would have seen something. Here she didn't feel. So he says the main heter behind the Veset is that she didn't feel. And not feeling means that the whole thing is a Derabanan. So this, according to this, it means that it's only b'di'evet. In other words, in reality, she should check herself. And the Prisha itself, the husband being away from his wife, of course, is going to be a Minatorah too. The other explanation given in the Chavaz Das, this is more according to the Rambam, is that it's true, the Chazaka of seeing something 3 times establishes a Doraisa Chazaka, and basically eliminates any doubts that what she saw was Dam Niddah, not Dam Ziv. She's not a Zava. She saw it during a certain time of the month. So she's basically has established in essence, a Chazaka of Doraisa. However, this Chazaka, because it's changeable, it's not a real Chazaka. It's not a strong enough Chazaka. So he adds, this is an interesting point, I think the Aruch HaShulchan also said. This fits in more with the reasoning here of why this Chazaka is not such a strong Chazaka as to say, for sure she's a Doraisa, for sure Chazaka. No, because this is the kind of a Chazaka that is changed. When is it changeable? Especially when she's older. As she gets older, it may not only does the time change, there's much blood, the duration is, so things change with her body. So anyway, so you have people ask questions on the Aruch HaShulchan, but what about the young women? Isn't it a chazak for them? So you have back and forth here questions on each one's explanation to why is this a Rabbana. So some say Chazaka is not strong, it's changeable, and others hold that what you have here is a cheskes tahara, that the woman has her own chazaka. And I think there was another explanation. I'll leave it to but the prisha, the separation between husband and wife, we have a pasuk that says like this: "V'hizartem et bnei Yisrael mitumatam." You should separate bnei Yisrael from their tuma. Mikan Omar Rabbi Yirmiyah. Let me see what it says here. Mikan Omar Rabbi Yirmiyah Azhara Libnei Yisrael sheifreshu min yeshotehem samuch lebasar. So from that pasuk we have azhara, a warning, instruction to Am Yisrael to stay apart from the women close to their vesed. How much? Omarova ona. Ona. And still we don't know what that ona is. So far we don't have the answer is ona. Okay, so this azhara itself, to separate, no longer the checking, is that the Raisa the Rabbana? So we have the Ran and the Rashba who holds that this is also the Rabbana. Sefer HaTrumos says that it's the Raisa. And Beis Yosef explaining the ones who hold that it's the Raisa says it could be that what they meant was that there's a smachta on the pasuk. There's a pasuk that basically relates to that, but it doesn't really mean that they held that it's a real Isur the Raisa. In other words, it's a real the Raisa. It could be that it's just they have an asmachta. They say, oh, we have proof. This seems to go along the lines of what we're saying. As vizartem, be careful and separate. But it doesn't mean that was clearly indicated as the Isur Doraisa. The Ritva says half an hour before the Veset, then it's the Oraisa. Says that after the Veset, until the end of the Ona, she's Asurim in the Torah, and before that it's the Rabbanu. Like the Bihud, as we said before, it says it's the Oraisa, Shach says it's the Rabbanu. Chassam Sofer explains one more detail, that Veset Sheino Kavua, everybody holds that it's a Rabbanan. It's not Kavua. And so she's checking to herself various times, various possibilities. And I saw another opinion in the Shut, Binyan Oilam, that says, since the majority of the days women are clean, that's a different idea. The majority of the days women are clean, you have a concept called Ruba, majority, which we spoke about in Taaruvot and Basar too. When you have Rov, and you have Chazaka, which one is stronger? Roiv. Roiv is always stronger than Chazaka. So you have the majority of women, or I should say the majority of the days a woman is clean, therefore Ruba Adif Chazaka. Alright. These are the basic explanations for the two areas of Veset and Hafrasha. Whether the two are the Rabbanon, the two of them are the Oraisa, or one is the Rabbanon and the others. It seems to be like some at least hold that even if you hold that the Veset, for a woman to check herself, is only the Rabbanon, which is of course very important for us to know that it can make a difference, at least for the husband to be away from his wife, close to her Veset, that can be a Deraisa. So that he just can't take a chance if he knows for sure when that Veset is. So in a Veset Kabul there's advantages, but the disadvantage is that once you know that day, you don't take any chances whatsoever. Whereas with the Veset She'ena Kavua, there's different kinds of pros and cons, different kinds, I should say, milas and constrainers, for the woman and for the husband. Okay, so just going to read it inside, the beginning of Siman Kuf Pei Daled, which is an important Siman that deals with Ona. And as we will see, there are various customs, there's various chumras, there's a chumra of the Or Zarua, which Kalas should be familiar with. Depending who her teacher was, she may have told her, follow the chumra of the Or Zarua. We're going to see that the Mechaber doesn't mention that. There's no reason really, according to many poskim, to take on an additional chumra. But the Or Zarua used common sense in his psak. He didn't just throw around the chumra here. So we're going to try to figure out why he said what he said, but we'll leave it for next week when we talk about what Ona is. How do we measure an Ona? What kind of a time frame are we talking about? So that's what this siman is about. So Sif Aleph reads, Rov hanashim yeshlem vesatot. Pirush zman kavua orach kanashim. Most women have some sort of period. During the age when they're having it. What does vesatot mean? Lir'ot bizman yadua. To see at a very specific time. Kegon, מ-20 ל-20 יום, every 20 days. או מ-30 ל-30 יום, or every 30 days. וכל אישה שיש לה וסת קבוע, and every woman that has a וסת קבוע, let's say every 28 days, בא עליה שלא בשעת וסתה, a husband can be intimate with her during that time when it's not her וסת. ואין צריכה בדיקה לפני תשמיש. She doesn't have to check herself, as the Rambam says. Now the question is, well, should she check herself afterwards? On that, there's no machloket. But let's just say that if it's not during her וסת, the two of them should have no concerns. Ramah says, גם אין לה להחמיר. She shouldn't be over frum. Be extra strict. לבדוק עצמה. לא לפני תשמיש ולא לאחר תשמיש. Ramah says it very clearly. No, it's not the time of her וסת. Even if she wants to, no. No checking before, no checking afterwards. Why? שלא יהיה ליבו נוקפו ופורש. He should not have any hesitancy, and because of that, he may not want to be with her. Because he says, oh, she's checking. It could be something. She must have seen something she didn't tell me last time. You know, all kinds of things that go through people's minds. That's called שלא יהיה ליבו נוקפו. Some people are, what are you doing? What does this mean? What did you check? Oh, I just want to be sure. I want to be on the safe side. Oh, that means you're suspecting, huh? This could cool off everything. So if it's not during the time of the וסת, a woman should, the Rambam says clearly, do not check yourself before, do not check yourself afterwards. Now, what's afterwards for him? We will see that too. That's another important area in intimacy, is that sometimes it could happen during the time husband and wife are intimate that she's injured, or that she, for some reason, that's when she sees blood. And so it could be before she didn't see, and afterwards she did see, or I should say during the time and it only comes out later when they check themselves and they clean themselves up and they see blood. What's that? Now, for those who may have had that kind of an experience, they shouldn't worry too much, because at the most they'll have to bring a korban chatas when the Beis Hamikdash, it was done unintentionally. Okay, just like Shabbos. I mean, we did it unintentionally. If it was Shabbos, this Melicha was Basar. There's something prescription called korban chatas for something like that. It's only when somebody does it intentionally, knowingly, that this could be a very, very serious offense. Niddah is very, very serious. So, what should she be concerned about? Okay, it's not my וסת, it's not the וסת yet, but maybe exactly at the minute when the two are together, that's when she's going to have it. Come on, you should be choshesh for that few minutes. It's a brief period. The intimacy is not hours long, right? So therefore, to suspect that she didn't have it before, but she's just going to have it right then, nah, that's too much. Because you have to look at it statistically. The post can say, statistically, what are the chances that even if she's expecting it soon, just then she should have it? They're small. And therefore, the post can tell the man and the woman, you can use statistics here. I mean, that's what it's all about. Obviously, if it's very, very close, then there's an iser, which we'll talk about. How much is that ona that they have to separate? A woman who wants to check herself not during the time when she's with her husband, just see what's going on in her body, that's fine. To make sure she's clean, as long as her husband is not there, as long as it's not during the time of intimacy, we don't want him to lose his interest.
So there's a big difference.
Yeah. A lot of it is psychological, yeah. Because, remember, let's say she's expecting it within 2 days.
I was gonna start thinking, oh, she's checking.
No, but and her husband is not there. She wants to check herself. It's good, actually. It's a good thing. No, remember what we said before. It's like you said, it's psychological. A lot of it is psychological. Because there is no need. But if she wants to always be sure, she's from. And her husband is not there. I mean, we did say before, Mechava says, Einat Tzricha. She doesn't need to. She has a Vesed Kavua. But if she wants to, not in front of her husband, Shelo B'Shas Tashmish, Arezi Meshubachat, fine. If she wants to double check, be sure 100%. Because what is she doing? Just in case 1 in 1,000, not 1 in a million, but 1 in 1,000, maybe her period changed. Maybe she's getting it earlier.
Potentially.
Right, obviously she has to do it softly. Yeah, she has to know how to do it.
Yeah, but even something.
Right. So, I don't think too many women do this, especially if they have a vesed kavua. It becomes complicated when it's not a vesed kavua, because then there's several possibilities. So that's different. But again, not next to her husband. Okay, I'm going to start a Sif base, but we'll continue next week because that already gets into Ona. B'shat vesta, during the time of Reveset, tzarich lifrosh mena Ona. Achat, as we said, during the time of Reveset, you do have to separate one Ona from her. V'lo mishar krivot ela mitashmish bil. When we talk about separation as far as the Ona before the Reveset, we're not talking about a hug, a kiss, handing her things, only relationship. Ela mitashmish amita bilvad. That's the Isur D'Oraisa. So, the time has come close, only that no. Everything else is still permissible until she sees something. For example, imu bayom poresh mena oto hayom kulo. For example, what does ona mean? Now he gives us an example. If it's, her time is always to get it sometime during the day. So Ilan, you were asking about this before. So if she has her veset and she always gets it during the day, poresh mimena oto hayom kulo. That whole day. Now, speaking about the day, I might as well say it now, that for the most part, most of the time, men and women, husband and wives, are not entering daylight hours. There's several reasons for that. There are exceptions. Basically, you don't want the noise of the outside street. A woman and a man should not be thinking of anybody else except themselves. So noise can interfere with that. And during daylight, too much may be exposed. And a husband and wife should be as modest as possible and not, at least not intentionally seeing each other. Therefore, there should be no light in the room, even candlelight. So therefore, usually not during the day. But sometimes it could happen during the day too. Then, of course, everything has to be dark in the room. So that's why we need to know this. Imhu bayom, poresh mimena oto hayom kulo. That whole day. Afilu im havese besofo, even the day, even though the vessel is at the end of the day, she always gets it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's some leeway. That whole day from the morning. Umutar miyad balayla, and he can be with her at night, shelacharav afterwards. V'chein imu b'tchilato, if it's in the beginning, poresh kol hayom, mutar kol halayla shloton, it can be the night before. V'chein adin imu balayla, if her vessel is at night, poresh kol halayla, he cannot be with her that night, umutar bayom shelefanav, it could be the day before. Ulacharav the day afterwards, because it passed. If it passed, it's no longer the veset. Ben shekava veset begimel pamim or bepam achat. Whether she is already established it 3 times, she's a real veset, or whether she had it once. As we will see, even with once, if that's a possibility that she will get it at that time, you have to be concerned about that. If that is a one day that she's had it. Sometimes a woman, as we will see in the Ramah, a woman may have had a vesed that, how should we say, is changeable. Sometimes 26, sometimes 27, sometimes 28 days. But it's always either one. Varies. But it's kavua. It's 26 or 27 or 28. Exactly. So there's different pshatim in the Ramah, and we'll talk about the next week what the pshatim mean. But just to read it inside, all that we've said till now in the Mechaber, the Ramah says, is only about vesed which is dependent on days. We're not talking about vesed that has to do with changes in your body. Right? That works a little bit differently. Because then what? Because then you only have to separate as soon as she gets those sensations. Vesed that is totally on michushim, on feelings, once she gets those feelings, that's when you have to separate. So what the Mechaber was saying was only concerning days. V'ayin lekamon simin kuf peites. V'isha shemeshanet v'sta le'akdim bet o gimel yamim. If a woman is having some changes, variations, 2-3 days, or lachar k'shemagia zman v'sta, either le'akdim, to have it earlier 2-3 days, or afterwards 2-3 days, tzarich lifrosh min bet o gimel yamim kodem o acharav. He may have to also separate himself during those 2 or 3 days before or after. So what's pshat in the Ramah? What does it mean, variation? That he's going to have to separate himself during those days? We'll see that next week there's 2 pshatim on what the Ramah intended here. But it's very possible that he may have to be concerned for some additional days besides her vesed because of the variation or the variance. And of course, once those days are gone, either the one that is a variance plus the fixed day, then any other day would be permissible. It would be just those 2 days, or the potential days that she may have it, that one would have to be, that he would have to separate himself from her. But whether it's day or night can be tricky, because even though we just said here If he has it during the day, has it during the night. What if it's sometimes days, sometimes nights? But it's every 28 days. So that it becomes a little bit trickier. And that is where the Orza Ruah comes in. The Orza Ruah has something to say about the reality of life today on how that Ona or Veset is not necessarily today anymore a particular hour. It could be a whole day sometime. And if it could be a whole day, morning till evening, then the Ona that the Chachamim had in mind, to be safe, would be the time before that. Not that particular moment. So that's why the Orza Ruah requirement will be, and we'll talk about it next week, is that there should be that day plus the night before, or that night, day before. It was the one ona or one period of time before the time she's expected. All right, next week.